So AEPs in Airsoft, they're not talked about much because they're low on power, the battery life is short at best. You do get, on a freshly charged battery, some performance at the start, but it very quickly starts slowing down. The other problem, if you want to change batteries regular when you're using it, because you do use them regular for like panic buttons outside for spraying and praying and hoping for the best, getting them in there in a hurry is an absolute nightmare. This video is going to be very user friendly for a new player because a lot of modifications in Airsoft means you've got to take them apart. I'm going to show you how to do a very good modification which will make this AEP at least usable and give you a lot better trigger response and a lot less faff on your game days so you can use it and enjoy it. Let's get some samples of what it's like before modification and then we'll get some afterwards once I've shown you how to do it. So as you can hear, as you pull the trigger there is a definite low trigger response. You pull that trigger and the time before that BB leaves the barrel is a definite quarter of a second or so, which doesn't sound like a lot, but when I've been using the AEP as standard in CQB, I sometimes feel like I'm starting to shoot before I pop the corner. The amount of times I've shot and the person's already run off before the BB's got there. This is obviously because of the lower FPS as well, but the time of pulling the trigger before that leaves the barrel is quite a long time for an Airsoft replica. However, the full auto capability is relatively slow, around 11 to 12 rounds a second, but it's enough if that's all you're using it for, but we can improve that very, very easily. So to do this without too much modification, we're going to leave the mini Deans as is in the pistol. All you're going to need is a little battery connector of your choice, a couple of Wagos, and the stock battery that came with it. First, we're going to snip off the mini Deans so we can use that as a connector inside the pistol. Be aware when you're snipping these contacts, you do not want either end to touch each other because that could cause the battery to catch fire. Best thing to do is to use some electrician's tape to tape each bit down separate from itself. That way the battery is safe to store till you put some new ends on. So as you can see, chuck that in the drawer till you want to sort it. Now strip the cables. If you don't have any tools, just a little blade like this is fine, just to expose the wires enough so you can connect it up. Wagos are amazing just because they're snap fit and they're certified in electrics. How the saying goes is Wago, Wago, plug it in and there you go. So as you can see, it's a lot cheaper than buying yourself a soldering iron, so if you're just wanting to do a quick fix like that, they're just worth it. Next thing to do with the battery end is to cut the two cables one shorter than the other. This is so that the Wagos, when we eventually put them in a line or tape them up, they're not sat on top of each other. Strip them and get them ready to put along your line using more Wagos. Then what you need to do is get yourself some 1 or 2 mil cable, something that's going to be decent enough to attach. I'll put links to the cable that I've used in the links below so you can buy the same stuff that I'm using. Make sure you do fray the ends like this so it's just easier to work with later. Now the main labour of this job is basically done. The one thing you need to check at this point is just to make sure that all your positive wiring and all the negative lining is all lined up in the same direction. Because you don't want to plug all this in, put your battery on, pull trigger and cause a problem. Just make sure that everything's lined up properly and you know it's safe to use. A little bit of extra care and attention saves you from causing any problems. And again, Wagos. Absolute ballers. If you make a mistake in the clipping and the lines, you can just unclip it, clip everything to the right size, and re-clip everything back together. They're a lifesaver. And if you don't want to buy a soldering iron, or you're scared of soldering irons or anything like that, they are the best thing. I know this video is about an AEP, but I should really make a video on how helpful Wagos are, because they can do anything in a pinch, especially when it comes to airsoft and repairing things in a pinch. If you'd like to see that, drop it in the comments below. Now, once you've got all that wired up, let's talk about batteries. For mean value, I'm using this huge 50C 5000 mAh 11-1. This is hugely overkill, but it works and the response is amazing. You would probably never have to charge this. But let's jerry-rig this together without doing any finishing and make sure all the Wagos and everything fit inside nice and neatly. And let's go give it a test and see how much better the performance is. And then after that, we'll show you how to make it look a lot neater and be a little bit more safer. Now immediately, the trigger spot response is mentally better. The full auto response is just brutal. It's gone from that 11-12 rounds a second to around the 25-26. Now I know I said there's no tools or anything to use in this. You don't have to do this bit. I'm just doing it to protect that little bit of cable that's coming out of the side of the pistol. However, if you're not moving it much or you're just going to tape it all in place, it would be suffice. I'm just doing this because I'm going to be doing a lot of playing with it and I just don't want it to break in game or anything like that. You could use a file if you don't have a Dremel. The next thing, push all that wiring through some sheathing. All the links to everything that I'm using is in the comments below. Once you've got that through, what we need to do is Wago everything back together so it's all clipped into the gun in the correct place. And then we need to use some heat shrink. You don't have to use heat shrink, it's just we've got some, and this is just going to hold that sheathing to the battery end and stop it from slipping around. Heat shrink is really cheap. Just buy the size you need. You could use a lighter, an air dryer, a heat gun, anything you've got laying around. But if you don't have this or you don't want to spend that money on it, just use some electrical tape. And once it's all fitted in place, and with that little cutout, that little cable sits nicely, I'm then just going to tape it all in place. Yes, this is crude, but the whole point of this video is if you have an AEP, it's your first gun, and you just want to get some more use out of it, taking a gun apart when you're new to airsoft or you've just bought something is terrifying. You don't want to break it. This way, it's usable, it works, and the battery's going to last forever. And it's going to perform better. How long this might last with the extra stress on the gearbox, I do not know, but I will come back in the future and explain all. If you've enjoyed this video, guys, don't forget to like, share and subscribe, and we'll see you for the next one.